I told you that Dr. Paula had me wearing these hats during the holidays here at the end of the year. I hope you believe me. But anyway, we're going to be talking about air today, and that's really what air guns are all about. Pneumatic guns, not powder guns, pneumatic. Completely different. I know on the outside they resemble powder guns, but on the inside they're pneumatic air guns. And there's a bunch of ways we can get that air. Certainly a gun that pumps up is fantastic. You don't need anything else but that. But if you head on into PCPs, that means we now have an air gun that also has a cylinder in it that holds that air. And now we need to do a couple things. Now, if you buy the pumps for them, and it's not a bicycle pump, we're not talking 35, 45 pounds of air for a bicycle or tire. We're talking about 4,500 feet per second, and a compressor that's much more difficult than that. And I'll get to the compressors in a minute. But this first stage is to have some sort of tank that can hold the air. You can go to Scuba shops and have it filled. Now this part is extra credit, but as you can see down here, I took an aqualung and I painted it a metallic dark gray. But when you find these on Craigslist, the eBay, etc., they're a bright color because a scuba diver wants to be seen underwater, and so we'll see that. Me, not you, I've got to paint it and make it something more air gunnish than scuba type. So once we have that, I'm going to take SOS pads and I am going to put a little etch scratch surface on it, and then I'm going to spray paint them. And the best way, so you just don't hold the can and get some drips going, is you start a spray can off here and you do it in streaks, or you do it crossways, but don't just aim and push the trigger. You're going to leave some runs, etc. on the gun. I want you to see these top valves. These are easy. You can see that lets some air out, and this is a cap here where the air then goes to the air gun. I have those additional metallic hoses, and I will bring that to your attention before this video is over. Over here is just a nut to take the thing apart. These tanks are made in a couple of variations. First of all, they're heavy. They're part of the weight that takes a scuba diver down to the bottom of a lake or pond. But there's a couple things that make that weight vary. For one thing, there's tanks that are made out of aluminum, and then there's tanks that are made out of steel, and the steel ones are heavy. These happen to be steel. That's the first thing. But what's good about the steel and the heaviness is that you can use them forever and ever and ever. Now you still have to have that flush done to them about every 5 years to make sure it's not leaking any air, etc., etc. But you can use them forever. And the aluminum ones, I think they only last about 20 years, and nobody will fill it after that. Another thing is I have the fiber optic, not the fiber optic, the carbon fiber tanks. They're quite light. Again, they only have a life of about 20 years. Scuba shops will fill them. You could fill it if you've got the muscle for that with a hand pump. But so I've used all types of tanks, and I have them all types. I'll get to those in a minute. But just know that we have steel and we have aluminum, and we also have one other thing. We have size. And obviously this tank is a lot lighter than this one. Also, these tanks have an air pressure. This tank right here has I think the Scuba place will only pump it up to about 3,200. Well, that was good for a while, but I have air guns today that need 4,500. Some of these tanks are only good for 2,500 and 1,500. So when you go lighter, you could have that issue. Less air pressure, but you enjoy the lighter weight. Once you have your own compressor, there's all kinds of compressors. We'll get into that. But there's the small ones, and then there's the big ones, and it takes a big one to fill a tank like these. I'll show you those in just a minute. So we're going to sand these down with SOS pads. You can use sandpaper if you like, if you want to paint them. And then we'll spray paint them, and then I'll show you what's next on the inside of my workshop. Well, this video is about air, and I have to tell you, air is expensive, except when it's free. And here's a Daisy power line, and it's a multi-pump. So again, by pumping it like this, you can get a varying amount of power and air, and enjoy it that way. I've put a nice little scope on it. I don't like guns that have scopes included. They usually are cheap. Anyway, here's a Daisy pump. When you pump it just once, it holds a magazine that's accessible here, and I think about 50 BBs, and it's effective. A third way to get your free air is with a lever action, and this is another Daisy. Excellent gun, great sights, great manual sights, but the air is free. Now, before I get into some expensive air, I've got some friends who've shared some humor with me. Let me share it with you. This first one says, are you struggling to get your wife's attention? Just sit down in a chair and look comfortable. You'll get attention from her then. Here's one. You think you're old? Then you're going to be old. But think you're young? You're probably delusional then. And lastly, not in jail, not in a mental hospital, not in a grave. I say I'm having a pretty good day. Okay, let's talk about air that's expensive. Here are some of my Aqualung tanks. I've painted them. Down here is a fiber tank, which weighs a lot less than these metal and aluminum tanks. But by golly, that thing's about $600, and these cost me less than $100. And this one here was, I think, from Hatson, but they come with Crossman and all kinds of logos on them. But this small one with the gauge, it was just a couple of $100. So I find different shooting situations lend itself to different air. But let me show you how you access this air that came in a scuba tank. First of all, they all come with this particular device on the top, and the air is really here, and you can see a small indentation back there. Now let me twist this back around, and in addition to a, call it $100 used tank, and I'll steel wool them and paint them, but this is, I don't know, about $75 to $100. And you're going to need this too. And how this works is it comes in back here, and you turn it, and that point is going to go into that indentation in the back. So once you get it on good and tight, you're now ready to release air, which is done over here. A steel cable, and at the end is a female adapter that would go over a male adapter on the gun. To access the air that's in this tank, you have to turn this big dial back here, and you have to turn this dial here. What then happens, interestingly, is that once the gun is full, you've got to release the pressure that's in this situation here, but this will be turned off. And you leave it turned off here, but you turn it, the pressure to release, and it releases around here, and it's ready then for the next time. The next time you're ready, you've got to tighten this up, release the air after you put this female end on, and the air gun will fill up. Now, why would we need money in a tank? Rather air in a tank? Well, you can see my large tank back here. I got that from a Detroit fire department. And they use those tanks to keep the air that goes on the backpack when they go into a fire, so they can breathe in a smoke-filled environment. And those tanks are made of steel, and as I said before, when they're made of steel, they're reusable forever. But let's talk about some additional ways we can get air. I don't any longer have an air pump. I figured, did I want a heart attack or did I want an air pump? So I sold the air tank. But here is an air gun that works off of the air types that I have here. And here is a small tabletop. It's good for, they say about 4,500. I think it's really only good for about 3,900. And you can see on this case, the front of the gun, but often it'll be on the sides, is a connection. And right now this is set up for a male, but now it's set up for a female, and you would put it in here. Next to it, this particular handgun has two air cylinders, and this one would tell us the amount of air pressure. You can see there's actually a little bit in there now. But again, this one is kind of nice because I have with it back here a device so I can hook up to a car battery, a 12 volt if you will, and so I'm able to fill air guns in the field with that tank and that converter. Now, in addition to tanks and small compressors, here's a much larger compressor. I got this one from Zach Matthews of Aries, and he's on vacation right now for, like so many companies, they shut down for the Christmas season. But underneath this tabletop is a 5-gallon bucket because it's water cooled. And you can see the two cylinders on the back side. This one does 4,500 pounds real easily. And it too has a cable. And in this example, a female end. And it turns on electrically, as you can see here. And it can pump up a gun, it can pump up a tank, you name it. It can do them all. So I hope I've showed you pretty much every way you can go about getting air here. And let me close this adventure today with what used to be called our 72 deal breakers. It now is over 100. And what we've done is listed all kinds of specs that may or may not be important to you. So what you would do is highlight in yellow the ones that are important to you. On the back, page 2, is a continuation. But down here is a section of the 7, 8 suppliers that I use, and I'm not on anybody's payroll. When you hear it here, it's a pro or con as I found it. But these suppliers are the ones I go and get these guns from. I know where to go to get a refurbished Gamble, a refurbished Crossman, Hatson. I pretty much buy refurbished guns because I like the fact they've actually been checked out twice. Once at the factory and then again by a gunsmith. And so that's why to the left of Dr. Paula, who's doing this video, we have all of these air guns. I've got about, I think it's right at about 80, and the only reason is I really could only afford 40. Well, by buying refurbished, I was able to get 80. I'm not on anybody's payroll. I don't want to be on anybody's payroll. I want to be able to share with you what my experience is with these things, good, bad, or ugly. There's no perfect gun. There's no perfect air source. I want you to know the facts. And one of the ways you can get to facts is with this specification sheet, highlighted with the areas that are important to you. This is good for CO2s, Springers, PCPs, large bore. Still got 72 caliber here. I even have a crossbow section because I hunt with crossbow. I used to hunt with a bow. Now with a crossbow, I use a slingshot to make noise in the field, hopefully chasing some of those critters my direction. I hope that you've enjoyed today. That sheet is you're just going to order by itself. At the time we print it in color and send it to you, it's $275, and we're not making any money on it. But we do throw it in free. You want a free deal breaker list. When you order one of our green air gunner shirts and hats, that's when we'll actually throw the thing in free. I hope you enjoy our videos. We're starting our 5th year. Harvard Business School teaches a class on business, and they consider the first 4 years as developing years. And once you hit your 5th year, and that's what we're hitting today with this video, is our 5th year, and they call that your established year. I don't know the definition of established, but we're working on it. Harvard says we're in our established year. That's why you're seeing a little different intro and a little different coverages as we go about these air guns. Wanting to share our passion with you. Just under 2 million viewers now, and over 17,000 subscribers. Paul and I have been humbled by that, by the way. We can't believe that many people around the world would be interested in what our experiences are. But at least we're sharing them with you honestly. So if you like staying safe and you like staying sharp and silent, you might want to enjoy our gun videos. Please leave us a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see what next week has to offer. And if you have questions, even on maintenance, I'll give you my best answer. Just leave a comment. Until next week, you have a good day.